Voyager 4 commercial system startup. Before starting up our system, we're going to check the oil levels and verify that they're full, and then we'll also turn on the analyzers and go through everything that you'll need to know before starting up the unit. First off, we have our rotary screw. This is the EK76. This is a newer compressor block that we're using, made by Champion. The oil level indicator is right here. Right now you can't really see the oil level because all the oil is dropped down from the cooler, so you really need to run the compressor and then look at it after about 2 minutes of shutdown. But you can see that there is oil in the tube because it's a little thick. This particular model is using a Nuvair 546, but normally we use an oxygen clean oil. So keep in mind, read the numbers that are listed on the block to know what type of oil goes into the block, because it could be an oxygen clean oil as opposed to just a food grade 546. Please make sure to use the 546 in the rotary screw, and in the big block here, which is high pressure, you're using 455 oil. Now the oil level indicator is right here, and it should be at least halfway like it is right now. You could have a little bit more, but that's actually okay where it's at. This is a 4-stage compressor, and this is your 4th stage. This is a temp probe, and it has a plug. That plug could be disconnected and bypassed. If you ever thought that there was a problem with that, you could check and verify that that's not why you're having a shutdown problem. Another shutdown is your pressure switch right here. You can dial this to whatever pressure you want, and it will turn off at that pressure. Also, you have overpressure relief valves located here and here, and there's also another one back in here for, it's behind that tag right there, for the stage pressures. Now you also have your stage pressure gauges located here. You have your oil pressure, which might run very low. As long as you're getting any pressure reading, that's fine. Then you have your first stage, second, third, and fourth. Obviously, the higher your fourth goes, the higher your third, second, and first will go. These are your filters, and this is your condensate trap right here. Drain daily. You could put a nipple on there going into a bucket and slightly leave open the ball valve on the bottom. To change your filters, you would first open up your fill yoke, and then you could bleed here to bleed down the filters, and then put a wrench in between the towers, tops, and open up the filters. Once everything is bleeded down, make sure your storage is turned off. You also have a bleed right here. You could open up that as well, and that way you know that none of the air is going to come back toward the towers while you're opening up the towers. This system also has a CO2 scrubber, and so there's soda lime, or there's a couple of different brand names of scrubbing material that can go into that scrubber prior to the air coming from the system and going through to the intake of your high pressure compressor. Right here we have our auto drains with manual drains. To check if it's functioning properly, you could watch the countdown, wait 1 minute after it dumps, and then open the drains individually to see whether pure water comes out or whether it's just aspirated. If it's aspirated, then it would indicate that the auto drains are working properly. Here is another overpressure relief valve, and this is like what I would call a main overpressure relief valve set to a maximum pressure setting. On some setting, it could be 5,000 on some systems, or it could be like 4,000 on others. In general, your system is set for 3,800 psi maximum. Do not exceed that, and that's really referring to when you're pumping nitrox. When you're pumping regular air, you can bring this system up to 5,000 psi. Before starting the system, we're going to want to turn on all of our analyzers, and you have to hold the button for about 4 seconds. So we've turned on all of the analyzers, and now we need to calibrate or check some of the analyzers. You can use test gas to test your CO2 or your CO. In general, the Pro O2, you can just wave your hand in front of it and just check to see that it's on 20.9. This analyzer over here, this is your final output. So we would have to run air through the system to calibrate this one. So if we started off the system by saying, okay, we're going to start our high pressure. So this is the high pressure from this point over. Then the air will start going through the system. What we're going to also do is we're going to open up this valve down here, or a vent if we wanted to. We could just keep this one closed if we wanted to, because let's say it goes to your storage, and we could just vent it right here by opening that valve. So we're going to come back here and we're going to start up the system. Okay, so now we have all the analyzers running, compressors running. We could do some calibration here at 20.9. We've been running all of the air out of the system. So now we can start our low pressure compressor. We can start our low pressure compressor. Auto LP shutdown with a pressure switch to shut it down. Run start. It's about 1 to 2 minutes to kick in. We probably want to set our pressure around 140 to start off with, and then we can see what our output is. Right now, looks like we're at about 34. So if we want to come down to 32, we bring our pressure down a little bit. I always go a little bit higher in the beginning because we have to wait until the final product gets to this analyzer. This analyzer here, when it reaches 32%, we can close the drain over here. As you see the analyzer coming up toward 32%, we can readjust this one. Down to 32%. Now we are close enough that if we want to start filling a tank, we can start filling a tank. As soon as this drops to 32.9, now we have both analyzers reading 32%. So we can now close the vent, open our valves on our tanks, and fill our scuba tanks. Notice our auto drain is going to go off in 1.1 minutes. Compressor will turn off when it hits 3200. The low pressure rotary screw will take about a minute to wind down. This is normal. Never hit the emergency button unless there is an emergency. We had selected auto shutdown, so when the pressure switch hit its pressure, it turned off the low pressure and the high pressure compressors. If you wanted to manually shut down the LP, what we could do is had it turned to manual. So you can see that all the analyzers are reading our moisture, Pro CO2, Pro CO. Our CO2 level is low because once again we have a scrubber here that is not on every compressor. This is because it's on a Voyager 4 commercial. Also, we have our stack alarm to turn off the alarm. If it was going off, you could turn that top dial up there. And also, like I said, this normally has crystal lube in the compressors, but right now we have food grade 455 and 546 in the compressors. As you can see, when it turned off, you could see like the bubble that was there. So you can see that that tube is full of oil. Normally when you change the oil, you measure it going back in, but you see how it did settle with a bubble on the top after it was running. Please note, when setting the percentage, you almost need to let it run for about 10 minutes before you'll see the percentage here and here match, because there are 4 filter towers and it takes a long time to get through those filter towers. Also, maintenance wise, we explain the oil level is here, and your fill is here, oil filter, and your drain tube is located there with a ball valve. Also, you have a ball valve here for draining your oil, and you have your filters here, here, and here. Always make sure that you run this in an area where you do not have carbon monoxide present. Also, we have some low pressure filters here. All 3 of these filters are for protecting the membrane systems. They have manual drains in them. We also have our electrical panel for our high pressure here. This is a special setup where we don't have the typical soft starter that's electronic in here. We have a blue reset button and our amp dial right there. Keep in mind, there are fuses in some of these DIN rails here, and the DIN rails just merely pull out. Moving over to our low pressure, we have kind of the same setup here. And once again, DIN rails right here where you can pull them out to see the fuses.